owner. Oh, would you please take me up in arms? Never let me go. Could you show me a better way to nestle?
Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. Yes, Lord. Hallelujah. Today is the day that the Lord has made. We shall intentionally rejoice and be glad in it. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I am Apostle Nabiyah Yehuda, and welcome to Prophetic Chatter. I am here with my special guest, Penny, Poet Girl Macpherson, and she's fierce. She's fierce. She is so fierce, and I love her spirit. I love the way the Lord just uses people in the earth, and He uses people as a witness of His testimony, as a witness of His love, as a witness that all things are possible. Amen. And so, with that said, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to introduce her properly, and I'm going to share some of her works with you, but I'm going to allow her to talk about, where she is right now in the Lord, the works that she's been working, the journey that she has been on with Yehovah, and just how mightily He's moving in her life. Amen. And so I want to, I'm really, really, really excited today because before I talk about, before I even share her bio, what I want to do is just tell you how the Lord literally gave me her name while I was worshiping. I haven't seen her in so long, and He gave me her name. So she had to be here. She had to be here. Amen. All right. So with that said, okay. So, and this is one of the things that Penny wants people to know, that she's totally blind due to retinopathy of prematurity, and she's going to explain exactly what that means. And although she says she's always had nothing more than light perception. That's a revelation right there. Her life bursts with busyness. So from the love of dogs to her lifelong involvement in education, she continues to help others and share her enthusiasm for teaching and writing. And she said that she owned her first Braille writer. Wow, she owned her first Braille writer from age 9 and shared that passion for writing with her friends at the New York State School for the Blind in Batavia, sorry. And I'm so ready for Hebrew. Batavia. And
There you go.
y'all don't know where that is. And she says, I have been hiking the peaks and valleys of my story for the last 40 years through the genre of poetry. And she says, I share my life slices through inspirational poetry, personal essays, and Messiah-centered meditations. And I know that, and I wanted to say something, but before I say that, let me say this. Welcome, Penny.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here. Oh my goodness, it was just such an encouragement when I got your text.
Amen. Amen. Now, and you've had some works that you have written, and we're going to talk about that. But I remember back in 2009 when I first met you at the Writers' Workshop in McDonough, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that day. I was teaching Hebrew, and the beginnings of Hebrew, the prophetic voice of the Hebrew language,
Yes.
and through Apostle Teresa Harvard Johnson, who set us all free for scribal ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so, and that was, I think that was a life-changing day for me. It was.
Well, I know it was for me because I felt like I felt like I had found a lot of kindred spirits, in the poetry and in the, just the letting go and worship and really being able to, reach out with song. But I mean, when the shofar started and when you started doing the Hebrew, and then there was another lady, I think might have been, Sister Tabitha, with all of the Hebrew wedding garments. I mean, it was really it was really a very big moment for me at that retreat because I felt like I was among sisters.
Yes. It was really a good day, and it was Prophet Prophet. I was getting ready to say Prophet Emmanuel, Prophet Emil
Hmm.
Holder, who was sounding the shofar, and I remember he he had me reading the text while he was up there. It had me right next to him, not knowing that someday I would actually not be owning shofars but selling them and teaching on them
Wow.
myself. So there was definitely it was definitely an atmosphere of impartation, you know,
Mm.
whether you sat next
Yes.
to someone or you stood next to someone like I'm standing next to him, and then or us just talking about writing. So and before we even just start talking about some of your books, how did you find out that you were a scribe?
Well, the strangest things started happening to me. And really, before 2002, I was writing a lot of autobiography in the form of poetry,
Hmm.
and I've had some emotional struggles in my life, and basically, the Holy Spirit kind of had me on a writing therapy regime.
Yes.
And in those early days, probably the first, well, I pretty much started writing the healing and recovery poetry probably in
Hmm.
1986, and that pretty much went through the middle of 2002
Okay.
until
Until.
a July morning,
Mm.
um, when I was at my grandmother's house and my aunt's house, and they were very, very dear to me. Um, and the Holy Spirit, um, we kind of have a dialogue going,
Mhm.
and he said, "This morning is mine,"
Mm.
and I was like, "Okay, so what does that mean?" And he said, um, "I want control of your poetry," and I said, "Well, I thought that you were with me in my poetry." He said, "I am, but having control of your poetry is a different thing, and you'll see if you let me try it." Well, 2 hours later, um, I I did risk it, and I wrote a very intense, love poem to Yeshua, which, I pretty much don't read. um I've never read it aloud to anybody in person because it's very untamed and unrestrained, and y- kind of like what the Shulamite would have written to her beloved. I said to the spirit, I'm like, what is this? And he said, this is the direction that you're going to go in now. You've outgrown the time of just focusing on yourself. Now you come into a deeper relationship with Yeshua, who is pictured as our bridegroom. And so just saying those few words um, conjures up a lot of pictures. And
Mm.
from that day, I just started writing. And I mean, we have this kind of humorous relationship because a lot of times, and actually, when I looked at Prophetess Teresa's site, those you might be a scribe if the 10 signs of, okay, I looked at those and I was like, wow, because every single one of them, I mean, it applied to me, and I'd never seen them in my life.
Wow.
And he loves to wake me up early in the morning, anywhere from 2 in the morning. 5 is kind of the latest. And I'll never forget this one morning. I hadn't gotten much sleep the night before, and I just felt this stirring at around 2 o'clock, and I was like, "Oh, Ruach, now I'm tired. I haven't gotten much sleep." He said, "Well, you have a choice. But you know that if you don't get up and write, it won't be there in the morning." So, of course, there was no way I was going to let the piece of writing get by because he was right. I had experienced that. I think there were maybe 2 or 3 times when I didn't run with the leading, and I couldn't get it back later,
Wow.
and it really grieved me. So I wrote that one, wrote another one, about 3:15 now, and Lord, I'm really kind of tired. Well, you can go to sleep, but I'm not really finished with you. So 3, 4, 5. Now it's about 4:45 in the morning, and get to number 6, and he said, "You can stop after you write this one."
Wow.
And Nabiyah, it is so cool. Um, when I'm writing, a lot of times, it's as if the spirit is just downloading the stuff into my inner being, and then it flows out through my fingers, either onto the Braille Sense, which is what I'm holding in my lap, which has a Braille display, or onto the laptop. And actually, my favorite way is the laptop, because I type faster than I Braille. Although I Braille pretty fast too, um, but my typing speed is really fast.
Mm.
So in order to be able to catch the words, I kind of favor the laptop.
Okay. Okay. Wow. It's okay. So well, that reminds me of I think it was an earlier conversation some time ago that scribes always have their favorite writing equipment.
Yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's true. And um, I mean, I've written meditations. Um, a lot of times, if I can't find um, cards in the store that suit me. I've been writing my own cards for people for years,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll, you know, put them in Word and make them into a card and put braille pictures on them sometimes, and and scallop the edges, and so I I kind of dabble in that too. Um, and My latest project is and the coolest thing is I don't think I think these things up. I really do believe they come from the Ruach HaKodesh. Um, it's like he drops a little ember of an idea, and then my soul thinks about it, and then it just catches flame, and I run with it.
Yes.
And so my latest one, he said, how about writing a diary, capturing your your grade school, junior high, and high school years, and kind of showing, what things were like for you, because a lot of people don't know what it's like to grow up blind, and so you're kind of breaking down that barrier, and you're working through a little bit of your stuff at the same time, and you're reaching out to, especially hopefully young and teenage girls, um, by writing a book that way, and hopefully kind of letting them kind of follow you in the journey that you've made in order to find us, meaning Yeshua and Aviyah and Ruach. So I'm probably, well, let's see, the book starts when I'm 6.5, and it's going to go till I graduate high school. So I'm probably up to the age of 14 or 15 right now, and I I've kind of taken a little sabbatical from it because um, the part I'm at right now is a little bit tough to write. So I really try to kind of give myself a break and be a little bit easy on myself. That's kind of what I picked up from therapy, but I will finish it. And then the book before that, which is my 2013 baby, it's called All in Your Names, Acrostic
Yes.
Meditations for the Seeking Soul. Now
Available on
that's,
Amazon.
yes, it's available on Amazon. Um, and and when I wrote this one, um, I don't know if you know, Nabiyah, but I almost lost the assignment.
Hmm.
Um, the spirit, back in, it was March of 2012, and
Mhm.
he said, I want you to write a book. Actually, I want you to write 2 books. And the first one, you're going to see how many names for God and and Messiah and the Spirit that you can find in the Tanakh. Christians call it the Old Testament,
Right. Yes.
and and but then you're going to find those names, and I want you to weave the meanings of the name, whatever name it is, into an acrostic meditation.
Hmm.
And so, for example, the name that I started out praying, the poem Adon. So when you look down the side of that poem, the lines begin with Adon. And so, as you're looking down the side of the poem, you're seeing the Hebrew name, And as you're reading the poem, you're getting the nuggets of the meanings of the name, and then you're also getting this little devotional kind of kind of like love note in short,
Mm-hmm.
all woven together, and that's what this book is. And a lot of people who have bought it, a lot of them say it's kind of like eating very fine chocolate.
Mm.
Said you know you you can't eat too much at one time. A lot of them will they'll take a poem a day
Mm.
and they'll read it, and then they will just sit and soak in it. And I also, for each name, I put as many scriptural references as I could find so that they could also use the book for a Bible study if they wanted to.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And then so volume 2, as soon as I get the letters to letters to Yeshua written, then I've got to start on volume 2, which is going to be the names of our Messiah that are found in the Brit Hadashah,
Mm-hmm.
which Christians call the New Testament. And
Yeah.
I already have the names gathered, and oh my goodness, there are so many names. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, both parts of the Bible just abound with names, and there's so much richness there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And and for those of you guys that's never heard of the Brit Chadashah, that is the renewed covenant. The
Yes.
renewed covenant. So, because we think Old Testament, New Testament, Tanakh, and also let me clarify, Tanakh is not a word.
Right.
It's an acronym. It stands for Torah,
Mhm.
Ketvim, which is the writings, and it is the Nevi'im, the prophets. So, or in order is Torah, Nevi'im, prophets, and then the Ketvim, the writings. And
Mhm.
so we have to start embracing that part of our heritage. It's the Hebrew roots of it, and where things come from, and which is interesting because Hebrew is built on a 3-letter root system, so it's all
Mhm.
about roots. It's all about roots. All about roots. So
Thou bearest not the root, but the root thee.
that's right, exactly. So and there are some people, sadly, that don't really care about that.
Yes, yes, that's true. But
It's sad.
yeah, I guess they don't like that kind of cuisine. It's just
Well, it's there. Look, it's on the plate.
mhm.
It's on the plate.
So my hopefully if I can be an appetizer to try to get people um to cultivate an appetite for that. That's really what I would love to do because it's beautiful.
Yes.
Shall I share one of my poems from the book?
Yes, 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 absolutely. Please do.
Adonai Yehovah, and that means the Lord Yehovah. All it takes is for you to touch a life delicately and ever so silently, only in our deepest parts, for that is where we feel. No, rather, that is where we find you first. And this creeping up the back stairs of our lives is your entrance so unobtrusive, not to catch our eye. You need to school me in all of this. Catch me now, especially since you've taken the time and trouble. Humble my heart before you. Oh, fearsome and awesome King, your victory prevails over me. Absorbent, I am ready and willing for you to have your say. Come now and have your way. And the references for that are Genesis or Bereshit 15:2 and 8, and Devarim or Deuteronomy 3:24, 9:26, Yehoshua or Joshua 7:7, Shoftim or Judges 6:22, 16:28, Shemuel Bet or 2 Samuel 7:18, 22 and 28, Melchim Aleph, 1 Kings 2:26 and 8:53, Tehillim 69:7, Psalm 69:7, 71:5 and 16, Yeshayahu 3:15, Isaiah 3:15, 7:7, Amos 1:8, 3:7 and 11 and 13, 4:2 and 5, 5:3, 6:8, 7:1 and 4, 8:1, 3, 9, 11, Obadiah 1:1, Micah 1:2, Micah 1:2, Zephaniah 1:7 or Zephaniah 1:7.
I'm so glad that somebody else on Prophetic Chatter is speaking Hebrew other than me.
Well, hopefully my pronunciation is right.
Oh no, the pronunciation is it's like, yes, you got it, you got it, you got it. I'm really like a proud mom right now. I was teaching Hebrew the other day in the park. We all met in the park instead of coming over here. And I had taught them how to say some things just in modern Hebrew as well
Mm-hmm.
as reading from the Torah. And the beautiful thing was I wrote all of these English sentences on the board and I said, okay, now translate it. And they did it. It was perfect.
Oh, that is fabulous.
Perfect. So I'm like, yay. So I can't wait to meet next week. But yeah, that was awesome. Penny, I know you're gonna do another one, right?
I am looking for another one. There are a couple in here that when I wrote them, I was just, oh my gosh, I was on cloud nine. So I'm trying to find one
And
of them is called,
while you're
yeah.
trying to find that, you can be looking for that. And so I know you've written for Virginia Magazine and written for Beautiful Reflections online newsletter, the Lakarev report. You've done some things, and I want to. You also was on BibleForum.org, right?
Yeah, I did I took, I don't know if you've ever heard the Amy Grant song, Breath of Heaven.
No, I don't think so.
It's a beautiful song, and when I heard it, I was like, a lot of times I'll do what are called model poems. Like if I really fall in love with with a piece of music or something, and I'll take the syllables that the original author did in the poetry, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll you know come up with something that makes it my own so that I can sing it to the melody of
Oh,
the
yeah, I do
song.
that. I
Yeah,
do that
you
too.
do that too? Okay, so
Yes,
you know what I'm talking about. And
absolutely.
and so I heard that Breath of Heaven song, and oh my goodness, I cried. It just moved me so much. Um and so I took the words for that, and I wrote a song called a poem called Branch of Yehovah.
Hmm.
Um, I tested it out to make sure that that I could actually sing it, and I was so happy that I could. Okay, so here is El Hanorah,
Okay.
and the cool thing about these names is that each one of them teaches us a little bit more about what Yah is like
Hmm.
and what his character is like, and different attributes that are ascribed to him.
Yes.
And so El Hanorah means the awesome God.
Mm.
Okay, I love this one, and you'll be able to see why, Nabiyah.
Mm.
Ecstasy holds her breath in your presence. Laughter leaps for joy at seeing you. How awesome and breathtaking you are. An entire universe cannot contain you. No one can define you. No one can govern you. Only a humble and contrite heart can sway you. Rich in all your attributes, and there's not a one of us who can even begin to compare to you. El Hanorah, El Hanorah. And that is from Nehemiah 9:32.
Mm. Wow. That's what I'm talking about right there. I mean, we have to get into this place of intimacy with the Lord. We have to get into a place where we are, where we fall in love with Him, where we surrender ourselves, where we are inspired. I mean, the Bible talks about, He sings songs of deliverance over us, but the Bible also says, "Sing to me a new song."
Mhm.
And so we're in our writings as scribes, and maybe there's no melody with it. Maybe it's just the words. He loves the lyrics, you know?
You know what though? One of these days, I really love the work of Heather Clark and Julie True, and
Yes.
one of my dreams is I would love to put all of this to music. I would love. Have you ever heard about you know how all the Psalms have been written to music, and
Yeah.
they can all be sung. And if I knew how to do that Hebrew framework, I would love to put all of these to that. But I don't know that it may be more than what I'm able to do here, but I'm really hoping that Yeshua will get with me and the Spirit will get with me when I get to be with them. And I really hope they will teach me how to do that, because that would just make me so happy.
Yeah. And
And I mean, it would just bring them glory. I just know it would.
it would. It really would. And it's like when you go into a Jewish synagogue and there's the cantor, and the cantor is singing the Torah. And
Yes.
there's all of these little accents and
Cancellations and all
yes, the
that, yeah.
cancellations, all of that, so that they know how to sing the Torah, and it's
That's
so
another thing I
beautiful.
would love to do. I
It's
wish I could do
beautiful.
that. Yeah, it is. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, nothing like it at all. And
Can I
so,
do one more?
sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, this one is called El Rahum, which means the God of compassion. Everywhere you are, everywhere you go, you leave a wellspring of compassion flowing, rising up from the wilderness, a womb of safety and sustenance. Can anything taste sweeter than compassion? Healing sweetness, fill us full. Better yet, overflow, undress us of our sinful ways and meld us into you, filed under tender mercies. Devarim, Deuteronomy 4:31.
Wow. That's good. And a lot of people they don't, I mean, let me say it like this. From a person, not even as a person that likes to write, but as a person who appreciates poetry, who appreciates music, who appreciates the sound of heaven. That's like a whole nother level.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because 7 years ago, I almost committed literary suicide.
Mm.
What had happened was that I applied, a friend of mine from Sheresh David, which was the synagogue where I was able to worship at that time, because I had transportation there. She said, "You ought to apply for a grant with the Florida Council of the Arts." So I filled out all the paperwork. I mean, it took me a week to get things ready because you had to do letters of reference. You just had a whole ton of stuff to do it. And they said, okay, in October, which was right around Sukkot, which made it even worse because Sukkot is my favorite holiday of all of Yah's appointed time. Sukkot is my favorite. That's when we're going to tabernacle with Messiah and all that jazz. And so they were having a panel discussion with all the applicants, and people were on the phone, and they basically took us one at a time, discussed our writing, and scored it.
Mm.
I got the lowest score, and I got off that phone and I said, Lord, am I not a writer? And I mean, it really got into my,
Yeah.
into me, and just filled me with so much despair. And I was like, has this all been a lie? Am I really not able to write? And so the 4th of November, I went to bed, and I talked to Yeshua and Aviyah and the Spirit as if they're, people right in the room. So I said, I think I've made a decision that I'm gonna commit literary suicide tomorrow. And of course, they were quiet, didn't say anything. I woke up the next morning fully I was going to delete everything off my computer, wipe my thumb drives clean, destroy everything I had in paper. And, it was going to be the end. Well, the Spirit said, before you do anything, go to your email. So I went to my email, and there were two very important pieces in there that morning. The first one was it was a it was an invitation to a little congregation in Spring Hill, Florida, and they invited me to read at an open mic on a Friday night.
Okay.
The second one, um, I had um, heard about Lewis Turner, who does wonderful thing with prayer minutes um, in Maryland, and I had asked him if he would send me his prayer minutes because he has them all on CDs, and they're just wonderful, and really nice thought bites to think about, and to figure out how to make your own, and how to get prayer to be more real for you.
Hmm.
So he had sent me those, and they're a while back, and I really enjoyed them very much. And so there was this email from Lewis, and he ordered my first two books, Harvest of the Heart and Wild Whisperings of a Poet's Soul. And those two emails were the only reason that I didn't kill all of my writing on that Thursday morning.
Hmm.
Um, I do have a website. Um, it's called wow, I can't believe it.
Oh.
I Google it. I Google it most of the time. It's if you Google Poetry Gallery of Penny Macpherson, it's like Poetry Patch. I think it's poetrypatch416.com. And then I do have a little blog, a web. What do you call those? The all in your names at
On Amazon? Oh,
WordPress.com.
oh.
And yeah, and I do have it on Amazon as well. Um, and anybody who would buy it from Amazon, and who would be willing to review it, um, I would like to bless them with something special. So any of you are so moved to do that, I would really appreciate it, because I guess the deal with Amazon is you have to buy it from them, because Prophetess Teresa wrote me a very nice
Oh,
book
yeah.
review,
On Amazon, if you
but
don't purchase it from them,
exactly,
you
yeah,
cannot
then
put
you
your,
cannot post the review on there, and
no.
so um, you know I probably have maybe I think I probably have maybe 7 or 8 books before I have to go into a new printing. I originally ordered 125. What happened was I got a very sweet deal from 48hourbooks.com. And
Mm-hmm.
what they did, they charged me for the first 100, and
Mm-hmm.
then they gave me 25 free.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that was a very nice offer.
Yeah, I know that you can, people that are interested in seeing your works, they can go to poetrypatch416.com.
And then there's also, I also have poetry on a thing called Messianic Literary Corner. And if you type my name in the search field, then you get a whole mess of poetry, probably that I did in the year 2012 and
Mm.
2013. And I also used to, this is funny, the Holy Spirit back in 2012, he said, want you to learn how to use Facebook. And I used to be an assistive technology teacher,
Mm-hmm.
which means that I taught blind people how to use special technology if they can't see the computer, and they learn to use screen readers and different things like that. And so I
Mm-hmm.
said to the Spirit, I said, the last thing I want to do is learn how to use another thing on the net. He said, I want you to learn how to do it, and you're gonna start a Facebook column called Today's Fresh Fruit.
Yes.
Well, I can't say no to the spirit, so I did that column faithfully for about 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of readership fell off, and so I've kind of um, not been doing that as much now. I really want to get into podcasting with my poetry and um, YouTube, but there again, I lack the technological know how to do it at this time. But I'm sure something will come up that
I'm
uh,
sure it always does.
yeah,
Let me ask you a question.
sure.
Um, how different is your writings from years ago until now? For instance, I know for myself, before I even came to know Yeshua, I was a scribe. I didn't know, and I wrote. I started writing when I was 11 years old. So, and I knew that over time after salvation, my writings took a very different view. It took a very different view. I it took a different turn. I began to just see life differently, love differently, and so everything changed. So for you, how is your even in your beginning stages
Yeah,
after salvation,
yeah.
how did your
Um,
writings change, and
well,
how are they different then until now?
like I said, I've been like you. I've been writing since I was a little girl too. I had my first thing published in the school newspaper in second grade, called the Maple Seed, and it was about my little my pet canary who died from being exposed to gas heat. Um, and I mean, I was writing songs, I was writing autobiographical books, when I was at the school for the blind. And, that's what my friends and I would do. We would sit there with our braille writers and write stories and write songs and, play guitar. But it, but it was all inward directed kinds of stuff. It was all about us.
Mm,
Um, and, but once I met Yeshua, it really didn't change overnight, because things take a long time to grow,
absolutely.
and he just kept working with me, and um, you know, like I said, those first. Well, let me give you an example. My first book, Harvest of the Heart, it was a collection of 105 poems. It was divided up into, I don't know, 6 or 7 sections. And in the section, there were always sections about God in every single volume.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference was the number of poems and the intensity and honesty. So in the first volume, I only had 7.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Wild Whisperings of a Poet's Soul came along.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first book, the God poems were first.
Okay.
In the second book, they were the last section, and the reason was, I guess I kind of wanted to have that Aleph Tav thing going on. You
Mm-hmm.
know, A to Z, Aleph, Alpha to Omega, and the in that one, the number of them, I think it went up to like 15 or 16. So that's pretty good growth. Well, then my third book, which was called Branch of Yehovah and Other Poems, okay, that one, all of the God poems were in the beginning again,
Mm-hmm.
because that was the title of the book. And I don't know, I think there were maybe 24 or 25. Okay, so I mean, you can just see him. He's claiming more and more real estate in my life, and I'm loving giving it to him.
Yes.
And the poems are getting deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're they're they they just look at things in more unflinching ways. It's a real attempt to be real and get honest.
Yes.
Okay, well, the fourth book came along. I'm almost embarrassed to tell you the title of this one.
Okay.
It's called The
How
Bad
many books have
Girl.
you written total? How many
It's
books
called
have
The
you?
Bad Girl and the Rabbi.
Oh, it's a bad girl and a
um,
rabbi.
but 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 that one, it goes into um, you know how I was and what I became, and so it's really okay.
Yeah.
um I have, counting me all in your names, I have 11 books of poetry. I have two children's books. I've written Enticed, which is it's it's for even greater intimacy with God. And that one is a bunch of writing exercises where I try to take women um, into deeper um, relationships. It's kind of like the difference between um, dating Yeshua and becoming engaged.
Mm.
Um, and then and in that book, um, the number, it just jumped quite a bit. I think it was something like, I don't know, 40 or 50 poems in
Oh,
that one. And they just keep going up from there. And so as it, the cool thing, so by the time you get to number 11,
yes.
this whole book is nothing but God.
Mm.
Nothing but Yah, nothing but Messiah, nothing but the Spirit.
Mm.
And really, all of the volumes, I mean, I really, I'm honest to a fault, sometimes transparent beyond comfort,
Mm.
but I figure, I have to be authentic, and I have to be who I am. And I'm not all good, I'm not all bad, and I'm not all ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeshua really, he loves it when people are real.
Yes.
So that's, and then I did a book of poems about motherhood. I've done one about poems about depression and eating disorders, mental illness, attempting suicide, sexual abuse.
Mm.
I've really done the gamut. Um, poems about grieving and just just reflecting, you know, how the different stages of journey that many of us go through.
Yeah. It's real. It's real life. You know, when people write or think about poetry, they think about some romanticized never land, and it can
Yes,
certainly be that. It can be that.
it can. It can.
It can. You go into your imagination and you don't know what you'll come out with, but there are very real places. There are those hard places in life,
Mhm.
hard places, even in our own hearts. And
Mhm.
people are not able to always, some people now are not always able to communicate with people, but they can do it through their pens, through their writing devices. They can do it that way because that's where they feel safe. It's freer. It's less intimidating because
Exactly.
that's their safe place. And I believe that we all have a safe place.
Exactly. And if you can't be transparent with Yah and with Yeshua and the Holy Spirit, there's nobody else you can.
Yes,
And just to tell you how that open mic night at New Sung Congregation turned out, um, back in 2010, I I met this woman after I picked out a couple very intense poems and read them. And she came up to me afterwards and she said, Penny, she said, I want to thank you for reading these poems. She said, my husband died and I haven't been able to cry and grieve um, since I lost him. And it just, I mean, it she was a broken heart standing in front of me. And she said, but when you read one of your poems, she said, I cried for the first time since he died. And that, I mean, that really, it really blessed me because it basically said your poetry can affect people for the good, so don't give it up. And the fact that God gave me the chance to change my mind about committing literary suicide just made me think about how great he is. And this poem, El Hanun, means the gracious God. And I'd like to read that for you if I could.
absolutely.
Essence of grace, lovely to let my thoughts curl up there and rest. Your presence, heady incense to linger and lick worries away. No bubble bath could ever compare to this. Nice having you so close, tucked under my heart, winsome merchant of royal. None can hold a candle to you. When it comes to you, when it comes to favor, there's a problem. There's a problem in this. Ever so graciously, you wrote the book on the one on of class so long ago, and you find that name in the book of Jonah, verse 4:2. Yonah.
Yona, which means dove.
Yes, it does, which is rather ironic when you think about how Yonah reacted in the book.
Yeah. It is.
Okay, I want to show you one more picture of Yah.
Okay.
It's called El Kano, the jealous God.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ever so closely, so lovingly watching over us like a faithful and passionate bridegroom, devoted as betrothed maidens once. The blood has been applied, and jealous, keeping track of where we go, what we say, what we do, a tender attachment that knows no bounds, needs no reason why, needs no explanation, save to justify opening wide to him, can only mean total consummation with nothing left but gold. And that name is found in Exodus or Shemot
So,
25,
mm-hmm.
34:14, and Bamidbar Numbers 5:14 and 30, and Deuteronomy or Devarim 4:24, 5:9, 6:15, Yehoshua 4:19 or Joshua 4:19, Melachim Aleph 19:10 and 14, Yechezkel, Ezekiel 39:25, Yoel 2:18, Joel 2:18, um, Nahum 1:2, Zechariah 1:14 and 8:2.
Mm.
I mean, just so many wonderful names, so many.
Yes.
And if you get this book, there will be 155 poems in it,
Mm.
and there's probably 140 different names. Also, in the back of the book, there is an index of my favorite phrases um, that that jumped out of the poetry as I was writing it. And so, if you want to go for the sweet, how it talks, I think it's in the book of Nehemiah where they talk about eating the fat and going for the sweet. If
Mm.
you wanna find the real sweet spots, go to the index and you won't be disappointed.
Well, there it is, folks. There it is, and there it is. Amen. Wow, I can't believe this hour has gotten it's like
It went
what happened?
fast, didn't
It went
it?
so fast. It went so fast, but I mean, wow. And I do want to just say thank you so much for sharing. This has been really good. I mean, and I've been saying for quite a while, scribes arise, because they're coming from everywhere. I mean, and the other thing I like to say is noexcuses.com. There's no excuse.
That's right, because the Spirit knows what He gave you.
Exactly. So we can't get away from it. We have to, as scribes, the first order of business is to preserve the word. And since
Have to
we
make a
are,
choice.
yeah, right. So when we're believers, the word is in us. The word is in us. And we have to look, we have to do what needs to be done. You got to get the word out, let people know who he is, and draw them into an intimate relationship. The Bible talks about compel them to come. So we as
Yes.
scribes, we can compel people to come by virtue of our conversation with him, our late night pillow talk with him, our intimacy with him, make them
Ooh,
jealous.
I like that. Yeah, that's what my writing is, Nabiyah. Beautifully said.
Thank
And
you.
and I want to yeah, I do. I want to you might think this is scandalous, but you know what? My parents think it's scandalous the way I talk about God. And but I'm just going to say it. I want to seduce people into the kingdom.
Look,
There it is.
there it is. Boom, bam,
There
pow.
it is. But I mean, I'm a fiance to Messiah, so that's I can't wait. I can, and I wrote this poem about what it's going to be like to see him in heaven. And the only line I remember in it, um, without reading it from my braille, is, "Oh my God, you're drop dead gorgeous."
That's so funny. That's funny. Oh my goodness. Look, and that's a good place to end because he is everything. He is
Yes,
altogether
he
lovely.
is.
He is
Altogether lovely,
altogether wonderful.
holy, good. Oh,
Yes, I mean, it is his good
he,
pleasure.
the consummate lover.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, look, I can go all day talking about his attributes and how wonderful he is, how merciful, how holy, how every time they go around him, the seraphim, the burning ones, and when they go around, and they've been going around for eons, and every time they get to another aspect of it, all they can say is holy, kadosh, kadosh,
Kadosh,
kadosh.
kadosh, kadosh.
That's all they can say because they've seen yet another aspect. Imagine going around for 20 centuries and you figure you've seen it all. No, you have not. And if they have not, certainly us in the little bit of time we get to spend on this earth, and then by the time we get saved, there's always another aspect of who he is that is yet to be seen.
And what is that scripture? I think it's in Yeshayahu 29 where it talks about, it is the glory of God to conceal a matter
Never matter. Yes.
and
The
kings to
glory of
search it
kings to
out,
seek it out.
or seek it out. And
Yes.
that's what we got to do. We got to go for the delicacies, go for the dainties.
Oh, yes. I love the dainties. Love the dainties because he has set a table in front of us to dine from.
And
And
his
there's no
banner
part
over us is love. Oh my
yes,
goodness.
and there's no part of the table that we cannot sit at, and it's there for the taking. It's there for the taking, the wine, the
Mm,
grapes,
the
the the,
lechem.
the lechem, of course, the lechem, the yain, and this is the
Yeah.
ultimate eat all you can. This is it, the one-stop shop. It is the eat all you can and get it. We know about Golden Corral, and you go in there and you got all this food, and you can eat until you pass out. But you know what? A lot of that food is not even good for you. Everything that the Lord sets before us is always good for us. It is
Oh,
nourishing to our
tov
souls,
me'od, tov me'od.
nourishing to our soul, nourishing to our bodies. He's clothed us in flesh and in sinews, and he speaks. He sings songs of deliverance over us. He can sing
I
us
love that
out,
is one of my favorite. Zephaniah
out.
3:17 is one of
Yes,
my favorite. And my
yes.
life verse is 45:1. My tongue is the pen of a speedy writer.
Ready
I will
Writer,
dress
yes.
I will address my works to the sovereign. I love that verse. In the whole wedding imagery.
That wedding
In that
imagery.
song.
Now, and this
Beautiful.
is what I was explaining to someone about that. We don't really think this through because you have to prepare for any wedding rehearsal so that
Mhm.
everybody knows where they're supposed to stand, what time they're
Exactly.
supposed to be there, what are they supposed to bring. It is preparation. You don't just show up. You get
Right.
prepared for it.
And did you ever stop and think about, remember when Yeshua was talking to the man who couldn't get in because he didn't have the wedding garments?
Right.
Did you ever think about what they were?
Ah, that's another preach right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's, just, no matter how many layers you think of, there's always more.
Always, always, always. And the next time you come on, we can talk more about that. You always got to leave a cliffhanger. You always gotta leave.
Thank you so much. This has blessed me more than I could ever tell you. And I do have people who are interested in hearing it, so I'm hoping that at some point it will be available for them to hear.
Mm. Yes, I'm going to send you the recording, and they're going to be able to hear and see.
And
Amen.
I'm just so glad you're doing this, and just keep on going because it's a beautiful thing, Nabiyah. Beautiful.
Well, I think that, this is just another platform for the people of God to share their hearts, their journeys. We're just ordinary people with extraordinary testimonies. And, some people don't have that opportunity. And so, and I just count it as a privilege and an honor to be able to do this. I mean, years ago, you
Yeah.
couldn't even get me to talk. It's just like,
Mhm. Mhm.
but
Yeah.
look,
Yeah.
what does the Bible say that there's a scripture? I think it's in Proverbs. It's in Mishle, where it says that the man knows a way of a maiden. So
Oh, I love that scripture. It's in chapter 30. It's right near the end. Yeah, there are four things that are wondrous to
yes,
behold, and that is one of them. It's like right near the end of that chapter. And
yes, yes,
I love that scripture.
yes, and he knows a way to a servant, a maiden, a daughter, a son. He knows. Job said, "You know the way that I take. You know the path that I'm on. And it's just so beautiful. And so for those that don't have that, and I'm not talking about people that's not saved. I'm talking about people right in the church, right in the congregations, and they
Yeah.
don't have that. All they have is religion,
Yeah.
and all they have is religion. And you have to let him take the word that he said will no longer be on tablets of stone, but that
Mhm.
that word will be written in
In
your
your heart.
hearts and in
Yeah.
your minds. He wants to kiss your soul.
Ooh. Oh, wow. Well, I'm going to leave you with one more nugget. I know we have to go, but
Okay.
if you get a chance,
Yes.
look up a thing called Love by the King, and it's by God's Girl. The first time I read it, I could not I read it aloud, and I just cried. It's the story of how a king falls in love with a maiden who doesn't feel worthy, and that's all I'm gonna tell you.
Ah,
I'm gonna leave you hanging because you gotta. It will bless you. And let me know if you can't find it. If
okay.
you can't find it, I will send it to you because I just know that when you read it, it's gonna just about make you swoon. It's beautiful.
I love the swoon ministry.
Oh, Yeshua, you are just so beautiful.
Yes, he is. Amen.
Ani achevet ata,
Hmm.
which means I love you.
Yes. My favorite is Ani Dodi Vedodili.
Yes, I love that too. I am my
Yes.
beloved's, and my beloved is mine. And actually, Nabia, I don't know if you can see this, but I told him several years ago that I wanted a bracelet that said that. Can you see it in the
I'm
picture?
trying to, I see the bracelet, but I cannot see the
And
details.
it does have the Hebrew that says just what you said, and
Yeah.
it's pink, and I love it because it it reminds me
Mm.
that I
Well,
am.
yeah, and I have to get another ring. I used to have a ring that said that.
I
Uh,
want to get one of those too.
Yes,
I haven't done
yes,
it yet, but
yes. I
someday
have
I
to
will.
get one, a silver one, because I am redeemed.
Hallelujah.
Yes,
Oh, we've got so much material for another one.
I know. We do. We truly do. But I do want to thank you so much for being on and sharing your journey. And I know that people are inspired, and they've done ran out of excuses. No excuses.com. It's not a real website. It's just something I say,
I love
because
it.
that means you can get to it from anywhere. That's what that means. So,
Really, really, Nabiyah, thank you. Thank you so much.
oh, that's my distinct pleasure. And you will be back. And um, for those of you are really looking for her books, you can find them on Amazon, and also you can go to that website I mentioned before, poetrypatch416.com, and all in his names.
All in your names at, I think it's at blogspot dot, or not blogspot, at wordpress.com. I believe
Yes.
that's,
Yeah, there's books by Bren.blogspot.com. But I am Apostle Nabiyah Bat Yehuda. And thank you guys for just joining us again on Prophetic Chatter with Scribe. The scribe extraordinaire, Penny, poet girl, Macpherson. All right,
I
so,
know.
all right, but God bless you. Thank you so much again for being on, Penny. And I look forward to our next encounter and convening at Prophetic Chatter, where we just chat and then God gets in it. And then he says whatever he wants to say, and he brings out whatever he wants to bring out. Look, we just work here.
That's right. Yeah, we're just employees here.
Yeah, we're look, we're not in management. We
No,
just work
that's
here.
right. That's right.
So
So, shalom aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem. I will see you later. And this is Prophetic Chatter. Shalom, shalom.